Hey, we're back with another recap for Dragonslayer RPG Highfell. This was session number 2. We had the 4 main characters were back for this session. So we had the human fighter Waylon, my elven magic user Anirion, Fletch, the elf thief, and Brother Tor, our cleric of Saint Yig. We're on, we just cleared out, I think it was the second level of this trapezoid tower in Highfell. We cleared that level, and our party muscle is kind of beat up. Waylon and Kolgus are down on hit points, so there's no short rests or anything like that, like in other editions of like D&D, like later editions. So you gotta deal with the cards that are dealt. So we do some wound binding and stuff, get their hit points back up. And I think it might have been around this point where Brother Tor burned his last spell of the day. I'm not sure. That eventually happens if it didn't happen here. We move up to the next level, and we don't do a good job checking the area for traps. And I knew in my gut that we should, and we didn't. And sure enough, we trip a trap. This oil comes down and hits Waylon and Spike, our war dog. And then this little kobold comes around the corner with a torch and launches it into us and sets those guys on fire. And they take a little bit of damage. Kobold runs away. We move on from there. We search a room and find the kobold, and he's trying to hide, and we don't let that happen. And he gets pretty much gutted by Waylon's spear, which turns out to be a magical +1 spear, which is nice. We pull some loot from him. Loot was pretty good, really good in this adventure. In this session, we got some good stuff, and we keep searching. We find a spell scroll, actually 2 of them. I think actually 3 of them. And I was all excited at first, being a magic user. I'm all about finding scrolls. They turn out to be cleric scrolls, so those go to Brother Tor, which he'll make good use of. But I was a little bummed. It was funny though. So find some loot. We collect that, and we move up to the 4th level. Actually, that cleared the 3rd level. We cleared that pretty quick, which was good. We get up there. We come across a guard room that's got some kobolds in it, and 3 of them. And we beat them really quickly. Actually, we were lucky. They didn't surprise us. We had found on the stairs on the way up. We learned our lesson. We were checking for traps, and we found a tripwire to a bell trap, which would have alerted the guards. So we were able to defeat that, and then the guards didn't get the jump on us, which was nice. We loot those guys, like all good adventurers, and they don't have a lot, but we take it anyway, and then we keep pushing on. Now, this is happening a lot faster in my recap than it played out, although the gameplay is really fast in Dragonslayer, like most OSR games. It was, we're moving at a cautious pace too, because we know that these kobolds are tricky. We did find another room that had a giant scorpion in a pen, and we talked about leaving it alone right up until I asked if it looked like there was anything of value in its pen, and we were told there was, so we had to kill it. And we killed the giant scorpion from like kind of a distance. I was no help in that. I missed with my arrow, but between Fletch's arrow and Waylon's spear, they were able to take it out. And we got some loot from them, from the giant skeleton. It looked like the kobolds were throwing some of their treasure in there to guard it, to have the scorpion guard it. So we actually got some decent treasure out of that. But then we're pushed on to the 4th level. We take care of the guards, and then we move into the final room, which was actually this room right here. And this proved to be a tough fight. There was a chieftain and several kobold bodyguards, and then some minions. And I cast my first spell, actually. I cast shield on myself, which gives me a better AC, because my standing AC, my regular AC is not great. It's like I walk around at a AC 8, which isn't great. I just try to stay out of combat, as much direct combat as I possibly can. So this is a pretty good battle, and in the course of the battle, we lose our henchman Kolgos. He goes down and ends up, I think he went down like -2, and the way Dragonslayer works, you have to make a death save. If you pass, you're at that range. There's different ranges when you're in the negatives. He was -2, so if he'd have passed his death save, he would have been out of action for 1d6 rounds, and then would have come back around with 1 hit point. He didn't make his death save. Steve rolled that for him. He was running Kolgos, and Kolgos dies, which is unfortunate. We were getting attached to him. But the battle, we can't give up. Joan, our NPC magic user, he also takes a really bad hit from a kobold, and he is looking pretty rough. He's not down, but he's not looking good. I end up firing a magic missile into the chieftain. He gets some arrows, and eventually I run Spike, our war dog, and Spike turned and bit him, and he scored a really good hit and did some really good damage. I think he actually did max damage, and just that was enough to finish him off. So Spike turns and just locks his jaws onto the kobold chieftain's head and just crushes it with a crunch, and that finishes him off. We searched this, obviously. There is more good loot, and the chieftain's wearing a key, so we search one of the there's like 2 alcoves, and one of them is barred, and we checked that one first, and there's a key. I think it was just outside the door. We go in, but in that alcove there is a naked half-elf female chained to the wall, and she's in rough shape. She's been tortured. We're able to free her. Fletch tries to pick the lock. That doesn't work, so we use the key outside the cell, and that works, and we're able to free her. And she tells us her name is Ilana, I think that was her name, and that she was part of Alana Elvenstar, and her party was ambushed by the kobolds, and she was captured. She had, I think, 4 other companions, and they were all killed. So we keep searching around. We free her. We give her Kolgos' cloak. She has nothing to wear. And we search the other alcove, which has a chest in it. This was pretty dicey. And this kind of, I think, really sets the tone for what we're going to be dealing with going through Highfell. This chest, above board, we figure out Fletch checks it for traps. He successfully finds it. But this was actually, I think, I may not explain this 100% right, but it was double trap. So if he hadn't found the trap, he would have had to make, the trap would have gone off, and I think he would have had to make 2 death saving throws, and that probably would have been the end of him. But he was able to find the traps and get around them, which was super fortunate. But again, I think that really kind of is going to me, it sets the tone like this. And I knew this going into it, but like, I think that's a big thing. Like, you got to be careful. And even my son has said that there's a lot of like save or die type stuff in this, and that's how old school games were. So you got to play smart. We keep searching. We find some real good loot. We get Alana her equipment back. It's in the chest. So she's equipped. She's in rough shape though. She gets a little bit of healing and maybe some wound binding, but she's not in very good shape. But she agrees to stick with us. You know, she's not going to do very well on her own, so she sticks with us. We find an old. We find like some. Actually, we find this double-bladed dagger. That was interesting. Later on, when we return to town, we get that identified, and that turns out to be a dagger of venom, which goes to Fletch takes that. That makes sense for him to have. We found a magical rune stone, which turned out to be a luck stone. It gets you a +1 to saves. We actually did a roll-off for that because everybody was kind of interested in it. And Matt, who plays Fletch, won. So he got that item as well. We found a wand. Later, I got that identified. This was a really cool item. Got that identified later because I tried to do identify on some stuff and it just didn't really shake out. It's not a gimme like it is in a lot of other editions of the game. But it turns out to be a wand of, what the heck it's called? I have it in my notes. Oh, on my character sheet, I should say. It is a wand of cold. So it has 4 charges, and I can cast the Cone of Cold spell basically 4 times, which is a pretty stout spell. Like that will be a heavy hitter spell. It does like 66 damage. So I'll be holding on to that. That obviously went to my character, Anarion, and we found an old library too. It was pretty much not in use, and we searched that, and we had to be very specific about the searches. So again, I think I said it in the last recap, like if you're doing a search of something, that takes a turn, and in that turn you're susceptible, you have to roll for a random encounter. So we agreed, like, because Brother Tor has also come to this place. He's looking for magical items and information and stuff like that. So he and I really wanted to search this library in depth. So we spent 3 turns doing that. I rolled 3 6-sided dice, came up with a random encounter. So one of them was, the random encounter was, I'm looking through a bookshelf and all of a sudden the bookshelf shoved aside and there's 4 skeletons coming out from behind the bookshelf in this alcove. I was a little nervous about this because, again, Squishy Wizard, my shield spell had run out a long time ago, so I'm running around with the AC 8. We rolled for surprise. I wasn't surprised by it, thankfully. And when we rolled initiative, we actually won. So I was able to hit or attack, and I used my staff for the first time, which I tried never to be in a position to have to use it, but that just happened, you know. And I actually hit and scored maximum damage and killed the skeleton immediately in front of me, and I was able to move away out of melee range, which was nice. And then the rest of the party joined in. Brother Tor tried some turning attempts. They didn't succeed. The first one failed by 1, such a bummer. And if you try it again, he can do it a certain amount of times a day, but if he tries it again on the same batch of undead, the difficulty goes up by 1. So he tried it a couple times, but it didn't happen, which, though, that's the way the dice work. But it would have been great if he had. But we were able to finish them off. Spike, our war dog, was useless in that fight because war dogs are great, but they don't like undead. Like, they won't attack them. Like, they're afraid of them, I guess. And he was not useful in that fight, whereas he was useful in every other fight we've been in. But we were able to beat them. Alana, she helped us, obviously. And above board, we found out that she's actually a ranger, and she's 2nd level. So that was good. So we defeat them. We spend another half hour after that searching, and I rolled another random encounter, but this time it wasn't combat. I think that one I actually found a broken staff of power. Such a bummer. You know, that would have been a great item. Not that I really expected to get it, but it would have been a great item, but it was a good tease, kind of fitting. So we leave the tower with the plan. You know, it's probably at best late in the afternoon, so we're not that far from Thatcham by Giant Crow. So we'll go back to our camp and then get the crows and then fly back to Thatcham for a well-deserved night of rest and revelry. On our way back to camp, Alana is kind of taking the lead a little bit, and she seems really jittery and or just a little bit nervous, and all of a sudden, like, the wind picks up where we're at, and she recognizes this as a problem, and we get to cover. And just luckily, because a white dragon flies overhead, and I estimated that, my character estimated that it was probably, they don't really do a lot of the age category. They don't do the age categories that I've seen in Dragonslayer, but we think it's a young adult, but way more than we can handle. It could be a wormling for that matter. It probably would wipe us. So we hid like smart adventurers, and it flew by and didn't notice us, thankfully. So we push on to camp. But duly note that this place is very dangerous, because we've also, again, in the last session, we noticed that there's a giant, some sort of ground creature that's around. Alana mentioned a giant rock, the bird, that she had seen when she was with her previous companion. So there are some dangers to this place that are way, way above our pay grade at this point, which I like that, because it's one of the things that I don't care for in later editions of the game. Is it kind of became expected that every encounter was like beatable. That is the pitfall of like challenge ratings and stuff like that. You kind of get it in your head that everything is set up so you can win. And then some of these things, like if that dragon had spotted us, like we wouldn't have won that. Like that would have just wiped us. So I like that element of danger in the game. We leave via the crows, and we're returning to Thatcham. One of the things we know is that not long after we take off from Highfell, it blinks out of sight for a second and then relocates about 25 miles away from us. So it must have hit the edge of the region, and then it automatically resets, I guess is the way to say it, into a different part of the region. So it never leaves this area, but it moves around it. So we note that, and then we go directly back to Thatcham, where we spend the rest of the night at the Wanton Wench, enjoying food and their honey mead. And we also recruit a replacement for Kolgos. We get a human henchman called Farstad. And the interesting about Farstad is, what we learn about him is he's a survivor of Barrel Maze. And Barrel Maze is another mega dungeon written by Greg Gillespie. It's actually the flagship. I think it's the first one that he wrote. I've run a little bit of it last summer when I was running Dragonslayer sessions. And they're all in the same world and within traveling distance of each other, from the way I understand it. I'm not an expert on it, but that's the way I understand it. So it was kind of neat. This was a random thing that was generated through the website for generating henchmen and followers. So he's a survivor of Barrel Maze. So what brought him here to us, we don't know yet. Maybe we'll learn that. I like role-playing with the henchmen and stuff, and the NPCs, so maybe we'll get that drawn out. We also pick up another war dog named Dingo, and I'm going to run the war dogs for us. They've been super helpful. Everybody's like, yeah, we need a bunch of those, so we picked up another one, which is great. So we'll have a couple of those. And Alana has decided to stay with us, which is nice. She's a full character like Joan, so she'll get a full share of treasure and such. Joan stays with us, although he considers not doing it. Like my character interacted with him while we were at the Wanton Wench, and he was really shaken up by what happened and almost dying. And I think he might have had a little bit of a morale check, and he decides to stay with us though. So we're gonna keep having Joan with us, which is great. And we divvied up treasure and XP at the end, which took a little bit of time because we got a fair amount of loot in this adventure. And we got some bonus XP for clearing our first tower, and that was actually enough to put Fletcher into second level. So we have our first second level PC, which is the Thief Fletcher. which isn't a big surprise because like all the OSR or old school D&D games, we have individual, Dragonslayer has individual XP tables for the classes. They're not all the classes are on the same XP table. And the thief requires the least amount of XP out of all the classes to advance. So we have Fletcher as a second level thief, which is great. His thieving abilities go up a little bit, which will help us. And he's a little bit more durable. He got some more hit points. He actually rolled well on his hit points. So we do a system where, for our hit points, where the game master, the maze controller in this case, and the player both roll the hit points, and you take the highest. That way you're never stuck with a 1, because if you roll the same, whether it's a 1 or a 6, which that happened, I think, a double of something happened, you re-roll, and then whoever's the highest gets your hit points. And we've been doing that for a while. We do that in my Cast Crusades game. It works pretty good. You're not overburdened with hit points. You don't have a ton of them, but it just makes sure you don't get a 1, which that kind of stinks, especially in a game like this, because it's not much of a help. So, but yeah, that was session number 2, and hopefully we'll be playing again next week. I'll be interested to see where that takes us. I mean, we'll head back to Highfell. We still have access to the giant crows. We have, replaced our henchmen. Got a tougher companion with Alana and another war dog. So we'll head back up there and hopefully avoid that white dragon and whatever the rock and whatever that ground creature is. We haven't figured out what that is. Maybe we'll come across the tracks and Alana can tell us, being a ranger. I don't know, but we'll see. Lots of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And I appreciate y'all watching and commenting on the video. Thank you.